Jim McMahon. If you played in the NFL in the 80s and were named the punky quarterback, there is no way you wouldn't make it to a list titled The Weirdest NFL Players. Jim McMahon was known for his rebellious personality, and he did everything under the sun while he played in the NFL. During Super Bowl 20 week, he was so fed up with the media intrusions in his life that he mooned a news helicopter that was flying over the Bears' practice field. He also gave the NFL a middle finger by wearing unapproved logos like Adidas and even Roselle to taunt the commissioner. McMahon's habit of drinking beer at press conferences also came as a surprise to a fan base that was used to seeing players give generic answers to generic questions. On top of this all, he was a regular at several famous Chicago bars, and he quickly gained a rock star reputation. Chad Johnson. By now, I am pretty sure we have all heard that famous Ocho soundbite.
We were in action, and she said in my ear, "Go deeper." So I had ran out of pee-pee.
She wanted me to go deeper, but I had already ran out of pee-pee. But Ocho has always been funny, witty, and weird, even before he became a successful podcaster alongside Uncle Shay Shay. In 2008, Chad Johnson legally changed his last name to Ocho Cinco, which is Spanish for his jersey number 85. This came 2 years after his famous celebration where he proposed to a cheerleader with a fake ring while celebrating a touchdown. This was not his first foray into weird celebrations, as he performed an Irish river dance after a score against Cleveland, then donned a mock future Hall of Fame jacket in 2005. What's even more diabolical is that the same season, he had performed a CPR celebration during a game against the Cleveland Browns. Similarly, in a bizarre publicity stunt before the 2007 season, Ocho raced a horse named at River Downs Racetrack and narrowly beat it in a 100-yard dash. Despite his career now being long over, Ocho still manages to grab attention through his outrageous snippets on his podcast. Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens, or more popularly known as T.O., had an explosive talent that was matched only by his outlandish antics and polarizing personality. It made him a lightning rod for attention both on and off the field. In fact, his wild antics and unapologetic personality pushed the boundaries of NFL decorum in the mid-2000s. At the turn of the millennium, while with the 49ers, he celebrated a touchdown against the Dallas Cowboys by sprinting to midfield and posing on the star logo. This was enough to spark a brawl and earn him a suspension. But T.O. was never the one to back down from a bit of fisticuffs. So he repeated the same thing later in the game for maximum provocation. In 2006, he hit his infamous Sharpie celebration against the Eagles. After scoring a touchdown, he pulled a marker from his sock, signed the ball, and handed it to a fan. And you just know he had planned this stunt before the game several times over. In 2008, while with the Cowboys, he mimicked urinating like a dog on the field after a score against the Giants. The opposition fans went absolutely ballistic on him, and he was hit with a $15,000 fine. Perhaps the most memorable T.O. antic was his tearful 2008 press conference, where he passionately defended Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo while sobbing, "That's my quarterback." It's a shame that it came right before the meme culture hit the internet. Off the field, Owens fueled his no F's given persona by hosting a reality show, aptly named The T.O. Show. The whole thing was him flaunting his flamboyant lifestyle and even staged a mock divorce from his publicist, Randy Moss. Randy Moss, with his freakish athleticism and weird personality, was an accomplished wide receiver whose on-field brilliance was often overshadowed by his eccentric and controversial antics. In 2005, during a playoff game against the Green Bay Packers, Moss scored a spectacular touchdown. Then he turned his back to the Lambeau Field crowd and mimicked taking off his pants and showing the crowd his peaches. It prompted a huge outrage and a $10,000 fine, though he later claimed it was simply a playful jab at Packers fans' traditions. His shenanigans went back to his rookie days, as in 1999, he squirted a referee with a water bottle during a game and was slapped with a $25,000 fine. His infamous "I play when I want to play" quote in 2001 from his Vikings days sparked controversy for suggesting he didn't always give full effort. Just like T.O., Moss also had a reality show in 2008 named Randy Rules, which was basically the NFL equivalent of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It included his quirky lifestyle, his love for fishing and flashy cars, even his public feuds with coaches and teammates, like his 2010 rant with the Patriots where he demanded to be traded off. He also once wore a straight-from-the-barbershop haircut with "I love me" shaved into it during a 2000 game. O.J. Simpson. O.J.'s name is synonymous with one of the most infamous legal sagas in history, and I am not sure if it makes him one of the weirdest or one of the most controversial NFL players to ever live. Nonetheless, O.J. Simpson's story on how he went from an electrifying talent with charismatic persona to a scandalous figure is worth telling. In June 1994, Simpson was charged with the murders of his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. He did not turn himself in at the agreed time and led the police to a wild chase which was broadcast live and watched by around 95 million people. Although he was acquitted in 1995, the trial was a media circus and the public were divided whether or not he committed the crimes. But O.J. seemed determined to go to jail, and in 2007 he led a group to steal sports memorabilia from a shop in Las Vegas at gunpoint. This resulted in a conviction and 9 years in prison, and further fueled his bizarre legacy. Post-NFL, he acted in quirky films like the Naked Gun series, where he played the bumbling detective Nordberg. The funny thing is, the character of the detective was not afraid to make fun of his legal troubles. Even nowadays, O.J. keeps posting on X where he offers casual commentary on sports and life, which is bizarre given his notorious past. Brett Favre. Brett Favre, known for his Iron Man streak and reckless playing style, was a larger-than-life figure whose quirky personality and controversial antics made him as unforgettable as his Hall of Fame career. In 2008, he gave a tearful and extremely heartfelt retirement press conference with the Packers. But this was almost immediately followed by an abrupt unretirement, which was enough to spark a messy feud with Green Bay and a trade to the Jets. So what does Brett do next? He unretires again to join the Vikings in 2009, and fans labeled him as the King of Indecision. In 2010, he was embroiled in a sexting scandal where he allegedly sent inappropriate texts and photos to a Jets sideline reporter. Brett was married at the time, and he had to face widespread public backlash. On the field, Favre's quirky habit of wearing his helmet crooked and his playful butt slaps managed to inspire this Key and Peele sketch. But off the field, he admitted addiction to painkillers in the mid-1990s, which led to a stint in rehab. This wouldn't be a big deal, but at that time, the fans saw him as a tough-as-nails quarterback. More recently, he was involved in a 2022 Mississippi Welfare Fund scandal where he was linked to misusing millions in public funds for personal projects like a volleyball facility. Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel was nicknamed Johnny Football for his electrifying talent, but unfortunately, his reckless off-field antics and flamboyant personality effectively ended his career. In 2014, he fueled drug abuse rumors when he was photographed posing with a rolled-up dollar bill in a Las Vegas club bathroom. In 2015, his Browns head coach had to come out and publicly criticize him after he was seen riding an inflatable swan along with alcohol. Manziel's habit of flashing his signature money sign hand gesture during games rubbed opponents and some fans the wrong way. He was also embroiled in domestic violence allegations involving his ex-girlfriend. This led to his release from the Browns and a messy legal settlement that further tarnished his reputation. Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow was known for three things: his college football heroics, unorthodox on-field approach, and a weird off-field persona. His Tebowing prayer pose, which consisted of kneeling on one knee after big plays, became a global meme in 2011. On the field, his awkward throwing mechanics and run-heavy approach baffled coaches, but none of them could stop him from leading his teams to impossible comeback wins like the 2011 Mile High Miracle against the Steelers. Outside the field, he was more than happy to showcase his outspoken Christian faith. This included wearing Bible verses on his eye black and discussing his virginity publicly. Another memorable moment was during his bizarre 2012 Jets tenure, where he was underused but never forgot to run shirtless through the rain at training camp. Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr., or OBJ, was dazzling, flamboyant, controversial, and one of the NFL's most unforgettable characters. In 2014, he made a gravity-defying one-handed touchdown catch while falling backward, and the whole thing became instantly viral. In 2016, he bizarrely proposed to a kicking net on the sideline after a touchdown. It was a cheeky response to an earlier game where he punched a kicking net in frustration and got slapped with a $12,154 fine for excessive celebration. One thing that dudes in the NFL love is the dog urinating on the field celebration, and when OBJ did it against the Eagles, he obviously got a lot of backlash. In 2017, a lot of the fans questioned his lifestyle and professionalism after he was seen in a boat trip party with his Giants teammates right before the season started, and in 2023, he had to be removed from a plane for refusing to fasten his seatbelt. Whether it was his colorful hairstyles or his emotional outbursts, OBJ's antics kept him in the spotlight as much as his talent. Cam Newton. Around a decade ago, Cam Newton became famous for his dynamic play, bold personality, Superman celebrations, and controversial antics. In 2015, he debuted his Superman touchdown celebrations by ripping open his jersey to mimic Clark Kent. His post-game outfits, like the infamous Versace zebra print pants, oversized hats, and silk scarves, turned press conferences into fashion shows. In 2016, his mid-game dab dance against the Titans went viral, but many people also questioned his sportsmanship. Fans also remember the 2019 YouTube vlogs, where he smoked cigars and ranted about his comeback with a voice so raspy it gave the listeners a headache. Vontaze Burfict. In the 2010s, Vontaze Burfict's relentless rule-breaking earned him the label of the league's dirtiest player, but his violent behavior wasn't limited to the field. During a game in 2015 against the Steelers, Vontaze hit Le'Veon Bell so hard that the latter tore his MCL. But that wasn't a one-time incident, as Vontaze later targeted Ben Roethlisberger's ankle and hurt him badly. Incidents like these solidified his dirty player reputation and earned him $69,454 in fines. However, the most infamous incident is the 2016 helmet-to-helmet hit on Antonio Brown during a playoff game. It cost the Bengals their spot in the next round, whereas Vontaze was suspended for 3 games and slapped with a $50,000 fine. In 2016, he flipped a double birdie to the Bills fans during a loss that only fueled his villainous image. As if to hammer home the, no puns intended, he once again delivered a helmet-to-helmet hit on the Colts' Jack Doyle, which led to a season-long 12-game suspension. Outside the field, he was arrested in 2020 for misdemeanor battery in Nevada, and he always seemed to maintain his unapologetic demeanor wherever he went. Deshaun Watson. In recent years, there has been no other player than Deshaun Watson whose on-field brilliance was overshadowed by a barrage of off-field allegations. There were so many and so serious off-field issues and quirky on-field moments that kept him in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. In 2021, over 20 women filed lawsuits against Deshaun where they alleged sexual misconduct during massage sessions. This was quickly followed by an 11-game NFL suspension in 2022 and a $5 million fine. In a less malicious but random moment, he gifted a game ball to a referee after a touchdown during a 2020 game against the Texans. After being plagued by such serious allegations, Deshaun returned in 2022. This time around, the fans started saying that he was programmed by the PR agencies after his robotic, emotionless post-game interviews. In 2021, he demanded to be traded out from Houston and proceeded to sit out the entire season while still under contract. And like every other dirtbag, Deshaun also has a habit of posting cryptic Bible verses on social media during his legal battles. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was so fast that he was nicknamed Cheetah. But even one of the fastest NFL players is not fast enough to run away from quirky on-field antics and some hefty off-field issues. In 2019, his bizarre touchdown celebration against the Patriots, where he mimicked riding a jet ski, drew a $10,571 fine but became an instant meme on social media. But it was 2022 when he really took the celebration antics to the next level. He outran defenders for a touchdown while taunting them with the signature peace sign gesture. Off the field, his 2015 domestic assault case at Oklahoma State, where he pleaded guilty to choking his then-pregnant girlfriend, led to his dismissal from the team and lingered as a stain on his reputation. In 2023, he allegedly slapped a worker after a dispute at the Miami Marina. His quirky social media presence, like posting videos of himself backflipping off boats or joking about his 10 kids in interviews, only amplifies his chaotic image. Ndamukong Suh. By now, most football fans recognize Ndamukong Suh not just for his dominance on the defensive line, but for the strange and sometimes downright villainous antics that made him one of the NFL's most polarizing figures. Suh has always been a bit of an oddball, part football genius, part weirdo. In 2011, Suh earned a 2-game suspension after stomping on Packers guard Evan Dietrich Smith during a Thanksgiving Day game. This moment would go on to define his reputation for being a dirty player. But that wasn't an isolated incident, as Suh developed a notorious rap sheet. It included stepping on quarterbacks, low hits, and being fined repeatedly for late or excessive contact. By 2014, he had racked up nearly $500,000 in fines. Sheesh. Yet, off the field, Suh is just as much of a mixed-bag personality. He is a mechanical engineering graduate from Nebraska and is known to invest millions while leading a frugal lifestyle. Take this with a grain of salt, but he once revealed that he still drove his old college car, a 1990s-era Mercedes that he bought secondhand. One minute he's trying to crush a running back's soul, and the next he's talking about urban development or investing in real estate like he's on a TED Talk. Then there's his approach to physical conditioning, which is unconventional to say the least. Stories have circulated about Tszyu training with MMA fighters, practicing ballet-like balance routines, and even challenging teammates to wrestling matches in the weight room. Lyle Alzado. If you know anything about Lyle Alzado, it's probably that he looked like he could have ripped a telephone pole out of the ground with one hand. And maybe he did do that, who knows. Alzado was a wild man in shoulder pads, and I personally thought he would have been a perfect fit in the role of a villain in one of those Mad Max movies. On the field, he was unpredictable, violent, and the best or worst thing about it is that he was proud of it. He once ripped the helmet off the Jets' Chris Ward and flung it at him mid-game like a gladiator chucking a gauntlet, and that wasn't even considered one of his top 10 craziest moments. Alzado frequently blurred the line between being an intimidating man and an insane man. But hold on and listen to this. Off the field, he was a bodybuilder, an actor, and famously one of the first athletes to publicly admit to heavy steroid use. Antonio Brown. One of my favorite pastimes is going to YouTube and listening to Shannon Sharpe rant about Antonio Brown and his numerous antics. By now, AB is less of a football player and more of a walking headline generator. He was once considered the best wide receiver in the NFL, but his career gradually transformed into social media meltdowns, bizarre behavior, and enough off-field drama to make a Netflix docuseries look tame. There was the time when AB showed up to Raiders camp in a hot air balloon. Then he froze his feet in a cryotherapy chamber because he didn't wear the proper footwear. And let's not forget the helmet saga. AB threatened to retire because the NFL wouldn't let him wear his old helmet model. This is the same year when he was fined by the Raiders, and as if he wasn't already in enough trouble, Antonio ended up posting the letter on Instagram. Oh, and he cursed out the GM, which got him released, and ever since, he has not played a single game for them. When he landed briefly with the Patriots, he lasted one game before off-field allegations surfaced. He then joined the Buccaneers, won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, and somehow still couldn't stay on track. In a now iconic moment, Brown stripped off his gear mid-game, waved to the crowd, and jogged shirtless off the field like he was quitting football. Even while doing a look back at his career for this video, I can't help but feel 1,000 emotions on how weird AB's career has been. Since then, he has dabbled in rap music, ran his own semi-pro football team into the ground, picked Twitter fights with just about everyone, and even announced presidential ambitions. I wish I was making this up. Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger's career is like a tale of two quarterbacks. On one side is a hard-nosed, never-say-die leader who dragged defenders on his back. On the other is a guy whose off-field reputation has always been controversial, mysterious, and just plain weird. In the late 2000s, he was involved in multiple legal controversies involving allegations of sexual misconduct. Though charges were never filed in one case and settled in another, the damage to his reputation was significant as the NFL suspended him in 2010 for violating the league's personal conduct policy. But then came the rebrand. In the latter half of his career, Ben leaned into being a team leader and eventually the old veteran who simply wouldn't quit. He grew a beard that made him look more like a lumberjack, occasionally flirted with retirement, then came back to throw 50 times a game like nothing happened. Lawrence Taylor. If football could be compared to the Avengers, then Lawrence Taylor would be Loki. Taylor was pure mayhem in a Giants uniform. He was so scarily fast that offensive linemen couldn't keep up, and coaches were forced to start building entire game plans just to stop him. His hit on Joe Theismann, where he snapped the quarterback's leg live on Monday Night Football, is still one of the most gruesome moments in NFL history. But off the field, that's where things got even weirder. LT once said he used to show up to matches still high from the night before, but went on to have generational games. He admitted to sending prostitutes to opponents' hotel rooms to tire them out. During the height of his career, he was partying like a rock star, skipping practices, dodging drug tests, and somehow still showing up on Sunday to dominate. He later confessed to faking injuries to avoid practice and even using urine from friends to pass drug tests. Hines Ward. If you were lining up against Hines Ward, you better have your chin strap buckled tight because he was coming to knock your teeth in. Ward was a contradiction. On one hand, he hit like a freight train, and on the other hand, he was always smiling. And mind you, this wasn't a sweet smile, but the kind that you do when you manage to get away with something sinister. Ward was a fascinating character because he was once named as a goodwill ambassador by the South Korean government. He even won Dancing with the Stars. Imagine that! The same guy who laid people out for a living also danced his way to a reality TV trophy. Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson was built like a steam engine, and watching him run was like seeing a wild animal which was recently unleashed. He didn't just hit holes, he exploded through them and dragged defenders like they were grocery bags. However, off the field, things got much weirder. In 2014, he was indicted for felony child abuse after disciplining his son with a switch. Peterson was suspended, lost endorsements, and saw his image as a hero athlete take a major hit. When he returned, it was with that same beast mode energy, but the reputation was never quite the same. He also had a notoriously complicated relationship with money. Despite earning over $100 million in his career, Peterson faced multiple lawsuits over unpaid debts and bad investments. And let's not forget his bizarre, old-school football takes. Peterson proudly admitted he still believed in running backs taking 30-plus carries a game. He once claimed he could still be elite into his late 30s, which he tried to prove by hopping from team to team long after most backs would have hung it up. Josh Gordon. At his peak, Gordon looked like a cheat code as he was built like an ox on steroids, he ran like a sprinter, and could mog defenders like they were practice dummies. But his talent was matched only by the absurdity that seemed to follow him like a shadow. Failed drug tests, suspensions, reinstatements, and repeat this cycle over and over. In the initial days of his downfall, he was addicted to weed, but it was just the tip of a much deeper battle with addiction, anxiety, and depression. He'd return for a few games, play really well, and then disappear again. By the time he bounced from the Browns to the Patriots, then Seahawks, then Chiefs, and then some more practice squads, it was clear that Gordon was battling himself. The league gave him multiple chances multiple times, but he could never remain stable for long enough. Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston's career is like the ultimate roller coaster. What doesn't he have? An arm that is like a cannon, chaotic decision-making, locker room comedy, and unfiltered confidence. Watching his career is like watching a Shakespearean tragedy performed at a bar full of drunk dudes. It's wild, dramatic, and somehow still entertaining. He has faced several controversies and odd incidents throughout his career. While at Florida State University, he was accused of sexual assault in 2012 by fellow student Erica Kinsman. In 2013, Winston was cited for shoplifting crab legs from a supermarket that resulted in a suspension from FSU's baseball team. In 2014, he was suspended for a game after shouting a vulgar internet meme in the student union. In 2016, Winston faced allegations of groping a female Uber driver in Scottsdale, leading to a 3-game NFL suspension in 2018. Additionally, in 2017, Winston went to an elementary school for a talk and randomly suggested boys should be strong while girls should be silent, polite, gentle. Le'Veon Bell. When I watched Le'Veon for the first time, I was left mesmerized. Defenders didn't know whether to charge him or wait with him, which usually meant by the time they figured it out, he was already 5 yards downfield. His running style was bizarre. He would stop, hesitate, wait for a crease, then explode. He did exactly what coaches told young players not to do. But in 2018, Bell sat out an entire season over a contract dispute. He famously said he was betting on himself and that he wanted to reset the running back market. Unfortunately, he lost. He left Pittsburgh and signed a massive deal with the New York Jets, and with hindsight, this move feels cursed from day one. The fit was bad, the production was worse, and his relationship with head coach Adam Gase looked like two people forced to share an Uber across the country. After the Jets cut him, Bell bounced around several teams, and somewhere along the way, he started dabbling in rap music. He dropped a few mixtapes and even picked up boxing gloves to try his hand at fighting. At one point, he knocked out fellow ex-NFL player Adrian Peterson in an exhibition match. Le'Veon also triggered a lot of people when he casually admitted he didn't even like football that much and he preferred watching basketball instead. Not exactly what you want to hear from your $52 million running back. George Pickens. George Pickens plays football like he's the main character and everyone else is just an extra. But the talent is only half the story. The weird part is everything else. This is the same guy who, while studying in a college in Georgia, got ejected for fighting a Georgia Tech player. He then celebrated by spraying the unfortunate player with water from a bottle. He once threw a vicious block in the SEC championship game, then calmly walked away like he didn't just launch someone into the shadow realm. Since hitting the NFL, the Pickens saga has only grown. He's known for making absolutely insane catches, then going on social media and throwing subtle or not so subtle shade about it. He'll post cryptic messages, unfollow teammates, or just write "free me" in his Instagram bio when the ball doesn't come his way. This is what happens when you get a Gen Z player. Jeremy Shockey. You know what? Jeremy Shockey always reminded me of Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was brash, temperamental, and would always say something out of pocket. During his time with the New York Giants, Shockey drew attention for brash comments. This included calling coach Bill Parcells a derogatory name and criticizing coach Tom Coughlin's strict rules. His outspoken nature continued with a 2003 incident where he partied excessively in New Orleans before a game. This incident upset team owner Wellington Mara, and their relationship became even more strained when Shockey didn't come to the Giants' 2008 Super Bowl celebrations. Some say that he was extremely pissed that the team won without him. Shockey also faced health-related incidents, including hospitalizations in 2009 and 2010 for dehydration and seizures linked to excessive drinking and low blood sugar. In 2012, he was accused by Warren Sapp of being the whistleblower in the Saints Bountygate scandal. In 2016, the FBI investigated Shockey's alleged ties to a drug and gambling ring, which he denied. He gave out a press conference in which he said a bold-faced lie by stating he never engaged in illegal activities. Mack Hollins. Some people call Mack Hollins the most interesting man in NFL. But trust me, the interesting here doesn't always mean a positive thing. Mack is a proper oddball and has the life choices of someone who watched too many episodes of Bear Grylls as a child. He once biked to NFL training camp, which was 60 miles from where he was staying, and he did this with pads strapped to his back like he is some modern-day football nomad. He proudly rocks a fanny pack at all times, has been known to fish and hunt on off days, and once said he didn't wear shoes for over a year just to stay connected to the earth. He is also into reptiles, but not as pets, but, like obsessed with reptiles. M. Hollins has gone on record saying he respects animals more than most people and would rather be off the grid if he weren't playing football.